ह्रीं ॐ श्रीं ह्रीं क्लीं ग्लौं गं गणपतये वरवरद सर्वजनं मे वशमानाय स्वाहा। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। साईराम लिन।
Sairam Sant Sharma. I'm very happy to be here again with Swami's grace. Thank you, Swami, for letting Sharma and I speak again tonight. Topic tonight is on healing. I think that every one of us knows someone at some stage in our life who needs healing. It may be ourselves, it may be a close family member or a friend, or now even with internet, we will see someone who is asking for help for healing with their child or with a parent, someone very dear to them, because nobody wants to lose someone to illness or to the fear of a serious ailment. Or if a person has had accident, we want them to get well. This is one of the deepest desires that a compassionate human being can have, is that they hope for wellness for another person. Swami told us that every one of us has three qualities that make us human being. He said these three desires are in every heart. First desire is, I want to be happy. Second desire is, I want to know. And third desire is, I want to live. Nobody wants to die. If someone says to you, are you ready to die today? You will say, oh no, I have an appointment. I am booked. I have to do the shopping. I have to take the dog for a walk. I'm not ready today. Go away. We'll talk about it some other time. No one is ready to die. Everyone wants to live. This is why we go to the doctor. This is why we go to the gym, why we take our vitamins, why we do exercise, why we drink water and take food, because we want to live. And so in the area of healing, what do we do when we are sick or when someone we know is not well? We want them to recover. The quicker the better, because we don't like it when we are sick. We don't like it when our loved ones become unwell. This topic of healing I witnessed with Swami and also with several other people who I would consider divine beings who had the grace of Swami to be able to help people get well. And I will speak about this. First off, I will give an example from my first interview with Sathya Sai Baba. We had in our group with Mata Betty, we had 21 people from New Zealand, and one of the people we had was an older gentleman. He was a milkman by trade, a retired milkman, and he had no family. He was a very difficult man to take on a trip. He refused to do all the disciplines that Mata Betty asked of us. He wouldn't come to the group meetings. He would wander around wearing his heavy clothing. He stepped on rocks and got an infected toe, and he soon got an infection in his eye. This was a very bad infection. His eye was puffing up and leaking pus. He would not get it attended to, even though we had 3 doctors in our group. He would not do what they told him to do to keep his eye clean. And then Swami called us for an interview. By this time, we were all sick of this man, And we had even thought up some unpleasant names to call him because he was such a pain to be around. He was grumpy. He wouldn't be nice to anyone. And even he was rude to our group leader, to Mata Betty. And she was very also upset. So Swami calls us for interview. And this man, we will call him Charles, was sitting at the very back of the interview room. After Swami had made Mata Betty comfortable and created pink vibhuti for all of us ladies, he called to Charles. He said, "What are you doing, sir? Come here." And Charles crawled on his hands and knees up to Swami. Swami said, "Stand up." And Swami said to him, "Eye is not good. Mind is not good. Posture is not good. I will help." And he just put his fingertip on Charles's infected eye. Then he began to tap Charles on his spine, all the way down his back and on his knees. He just touched him, just light little touch, tap, 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 tap. Then Swami moved his hand in the gesture of creation and created a gold ring for Charles. It was an Om on a raised platform on the ring, like a rectangle, and then the Om is on top of the gold rectangle. He is putting the ring on Charles's finger. Swami is patting his hand, saying, "Om for omnipresent. I am always with you." And Charles burst into tears and fell down at Swami's feet and took Padnamaskar. Well, we were all astounded at this. And by the afternoon, Charles came to darshan. He was wearing darshan whites. He looked 40 years younger. His eye was completely healed up. He was standing up straight. He had a spring in his step, and he had his chest kind of puffed out like a young guy, you know. He was looking at all the girls, and his voice was soft and sweet. And we all looked at him and said, "This isn't going to last," you know. We couldn't believe this is a complete transformation, not just the eye as well, but the whole human being. And, you know, he could not remember being unwell. His whole memory had been erased of being a grumpy old man, and none of us thought this would last. But I sat beside him on the plane. He was the most charming companion I could ever ask for. He was soft and sweet, gentle, gentlemanly, helping me, you know, put up my tray and helping me out of my seat. And for many years afterwards, he gave little talks in his city, Wellington, New Zealand, about his experience with Sathya Sai Baba. That was my first experience of Swami healing not just the physical body, but the mental body and the spiritual body. Swami's healings are complete, and they last. This is the difference between, I think, when the avatar takes you under his wing, his treatment of you, if it is through his grace that you become well, that this is how he treats us as devotees. I also witnessed many other kinds of healing with Swami. For example, Mata Betty. Many events happened around Mata Betty where a person who was sick became well. Mata always said, "It's not me doing this." For example, she would often have a glass of water beside her when she was giving a talk about Swami. When there was someone who was sick in the audience, the bottom of the glass began to form an Om with bubbles. And the bubbles began rising in the glass just like a carbonated drink. Mata then knew that there was someone sick in the audience who needed that water. And she didn't have to ask. Someone would come forward to see her. In one case, it was a little boy who came up to Mata and said, "Ma, I am thirsty. Give me a drink." And Mata knew that this little boy was not well. In fact, it turned out this boy was suffering from leukemia. He drank the water. She gave him the water to drink that had the Om formed with bubbles in the bottom to drink, and the boy was taken for tests, and there was no trace of the leukemia. In another incident, a New Zealand devotee developed a kidney problem and needed a kidney transplant. He was going to die if he did not have the transplant. There was no kidney available, and so Mata Betty prayed to Swami that the man become healed. In fact, this happened again. The man suddenly was miraculously healed and no longer needed a kidney transplant. Mata went to see Swami on her next trip and said, "Swami, did you heal my boy? Was that you?" And Swami said, yes, it was me. That was the power of Mata Betty's prayers. And there are several other people on this earth who have that power of great prayer to Swami. He will answer their prayers and take care of that person who is unwell. Another experience was related to me by Professor Suri, who was in charge of the ashram book center. I used to volunteer for Professor Suri, helping him in the book center there. This was in the early part of the 1990s. And Professor Suri told me, he said, "One night, Lyn, I was in my apartment in Prashanti and I died. I left my body. I had some kind of heart condition. And next thing I knew, I was traveling through a tunnel of light, and I was standing before a table with some guides, like spiritual guides, and they were ready to check me in to a heavenly realm." He said, "Suddenly, Swami was standing beside me and said to me, 'Suri, tonight we're destined to die. But your sister Mata Betty and 2 sisters in America have prayed for you to come back into your body and serve me for some longer time.'" Now, Mata Betty later told me she had no idea Professor Suri had died. But Swami told Suri that Mata Betty in her astral form and 2 sisters in America in their astral form had prayed to Swami to return Suri to his body. Next thing Professor Suri knew, he was back in his body, and he said it was like returning to a sewer. Later, when I spoke to Mata Betty about this, she was very dear friends with Professor Suri. She said, "Lyn, I had no idea that Suri had died, but this proves to me that when we are sleeping, we are in our astral body, and we can also pray to Swami for his grace. We can travel anywhere, and we can know anything." This was an extremely profound revelation for me. There are a number of other people who have got this tremendous grace of being able to heal. One of them is an auntie I know here in New Zealand. Her prayers are extremely powerful, and she has said to me, "Lyn, this is my prayer. When I pray for someone to be healed, I do not ask Swami for an outcome. I pray to Swami, 'Swami, this is so-and-so.' She will give Swami the name of the person, and she will say, 'Swami, this person is not keeping well. Please give them the strength to go through what they must go through. This is a very, very powerful prayer because we are not asking Swami for the outcome. We are not attached to the outcome. We are simply asking him to give that human being who is unwell the strength to go through what they must, because we do not know what that person's karma is or why they have to endure this illness or this accident. Swami told us that one of the reasons some people have to go to hospital is to realize that they depend on every other human being for their life. They depend on the surgeon, they depend on the nurse, they depend on the person who brings them their food, they depend on the doctor, they depend on the drugs, they depend on the oxygen to keep them alive. And this takes human power to make all these things happen for us. That is what underneath all of the appearance of illness is what the person must learn, that we are not, no man or woman is an island. We all depend so much on other human beings for our very well-being and our life. And he said this is why some people must endure the hospital experience. I myself, when I was in the ashram, I unfortunately ate some food that gave me and 50 other people some food poisoning. I don't know what the food was, but at any rate, I ended up in hospital very quickly. I was on a drip because I was so dehydrated, and I had really very little recollection of where I was. But in fact, I kept seeing Shirdi Baba in front of me. When I closed my eyes, I saw images of Shirdi Baba inside the mandir. I saw many saints and sadhus and swamis and angels walking around inside the mandir. You could call this a hallucination, but whenever I looked into Shirdi Baba's face, I was no longer aware that I was unwell. After 3 days, I was perfectly well. I was dimly aware of the doctors and nurses coming and going. I can't remember having eaten any food because I was on a drip. But after 3 days, I remember becoming completely well and just wanting to go to darshan and see Swami again. And he came over to me. I had the front row, and he said, "How are you?" I said, "Swami, I'm very well." And he just smiled and walked away. And then I knew he knew the whole time I had been unwell, and he was taking care of me. As I was saying, Poppy and Arthur Hillcoat also corroborated some of these stories of healing. Arthur was Swami's great white lion who often gave wonderful talks to the boys and to all of us in Australia and New Zealand. Arthur fell ill many, many, many times. And I remember Poppy, his wife, telling me once Arthur was on death's door. And she went to Swami. I think they were in India at this time. Poppy went, Swami called her in for an interview, and she said, "Swami, please save my husband. He is at death's door. He has a terrible gastrointestinal infection that is not getting better. I fear for his life." And Swami said, "Oh, Lion has been eating too many rich foods at all these Sai events that he goes to all over the world. He is at the buffet table all the time, eating all these foods he should not be eating. He should be doing macrobiotic diet." And he created vibhuti for Poppy, which she gave to Arthur, and immediately he began to recover. And from that time on, he stuck to a macrobiotic diet. He no longer gorged himself on all the goodies that were put on for him at Sai events. I think some of you will know what I mean. Sometimes we go to these events and there are so many delicious foods that the ladies have made, and they all want us to taste everything. And so another thing that Swami told us, he said, when you have complete faith, it is faith that heals. He said it can be faith in the doctor, faith in the medicine, faith in Swami, but there must be faith. He said vibhuti may or may not be used, but it is faith that makes the healing complete. Swami is like the positive end of a battery, and the sick person is like the negative end. When there is faith, the positive and negative meet, and healing takes place automatically. We had in our group a neurological oncologist from Auckland Hospital, and the oncologist said to Swami, Swami, there is no cancer ward in your super hospital. I would like to leave my position at Auckland Hospital and set up a cancer ward for you, Swami. There are many people here who have got cancer, even here inside the ashram. I know, I have been visiting them. At least we could introduce palliative care and have treatment, chemotherapy, radiology in your super hospital. Swami replied, no cancer ward in my hospital. The oncologist was stunned. He said, why, Swami? It is so necessary. There's so much cancer. Swami said, all cancers are caused by a lack of love. Love for yourself, love for others, love for the world, love for animals, but it is always a lack of love. I pondered this because another therapist who was a Sai devotee told me that he had observed with some people who had not been able to say goodbye to one of their relatives who was passing away. They did not get the opportunity to say goodbye. This haunted them, and it actually began to seed a cancer within them. I am not saying this happens to everyone. It just happened to many of his clients who had developed cancer. There was some terrible grief, some lack of being able to express their love that helped to actually seed the cancer. This therapist also told me of several women who had lost children to stillbirth or bereavement or accident, and this caused them such grief and heartache that it began to develop as breast cancer. I am no diagnostician. It is obvious that Swami himself knew that cancer is caused on a much deeper spiritual and mental level, and sometimes it may be coming forward from past life. I was able to discuss this with many of the doctors in the ashram. I was able to discuss it specifically with Dr. Pavan and his wife Devi Pavan. Dr. Pavan attended Swami, who's one of his doctors. Auntie Devi was head of ear, nose, and throat at General Hospital, and with Dr. Charanjit Gui, the late Dr. Charanjit was head of women's health at Swami's General Hospital. And Charanjit also revealed to me many truths about illness. Whenever I took groups to India to see Swami, invariably a lot of the women in my group would suddenly develop headaches, stomach aches, feeling unwell, unable to go to darshan. So I would take them up to see Dr. Gui at Women's Health in Puttaparthi General. I remember Dr. Gui with one woman in particular who was complaining of everything under the sun. She gave the woman a complete examination and could find nothing wrong with her. And then the woman looked at her and said, "You are my mother, Dr. Gui." Dr. Gui pointed to Swami's picture and said, "That is your mother. I am only your doctor." And this was very interesting because Dr. Gui was skilled in homeopathy. She was skilled in Ayurveda. And she said to this girl, "Your illnesses are caused completely by your mind. I will give you some homeopathic pills, some Ayurvedic pills. You will take these," because the woman still wanted some medicine. And this often happens with people who think that they are very sick. I think it is called hypochondria. And as Swami said, all diseases are caused by the mind. This is also something to think about and to ponder. Our thoughts should be pure. We should not indulge in negative thinking. I am going to be sick. I am scared of catching this, scared of catching that. What happens? No, don't think like that. Always think that Swami is taking care of you. If indeed you become unwell, then also have faith that Swami will give you the strength to get through this illness or this accident, whatever. We know that all of us have some karma, and he will, if we are destined to have some accident or some illness, he will remove some of that karma by his grace, and we will not suffer quite so much. Dr. Pavan told me of another amazing incident where during darshan, one of the old gentlemen there in the mandir in Prashanti Nilayam fell down dead. The doctors all clustered around him. Swami was giving darshan, and he suddenly stopped and was waving his arms in the air very vigorously. No one could understand what Swami was doing. And then suddenly the man came back to life, even though the doctors had ascertained that he was well and truly gone. The man said, "I left my body and I was within Swami's hand. I was looking out into the mandir area. I could see everyone. I could see through Swami's fingers. He was holding my soul. And I saw a huge bird. The Garuda had come to take me to Vaikuntha Loka. Swami was chasing the bird away, saying, 'Go, go.' And that was why Swami was waving his arms. The man said, 'Next minute, I am back in my body looking up at all of you doctors.' The man lived on for 18 more months and was hale and hearty right up to the end. We cannot begin to imagine what is going on the divine level. Whenever we are unwell, whenever we feel like, oh my God, now it is my time, we don't know what is going to happen. But Swami knows. Swami has always said, say my name, say my name. Always be ready. You never know when the photographer is going to click, meaning we never know when it is our time to depart the body. And the most auspicious thing that can be on our lips is his name. Then we don't have to worry. He will be there to meet us. He will take us across. He will accompany us on that journey of journeys that all of us have to take one time or one day or another. All of us will have to leave this impermanent, transient physical shell that we inhabit. Why were we given this physical body in the first place? To realize that we are here to be of service to others. That is why we have gained this great gift of physical body. once we realize this, that we are here to love all, to serve all, to help ever, to hurt never, we have realized our purpose of being here on this earth. Swami has also said, this is a golden opportunity, this lifetime, because it is during this lifetime that we can achieve such a state of being that we do not have to return to another physical body, that we do not have to endure another life on this earth. How does that happen? By saying his name, by thinking of him, by speaking with him constantly within our spiritual heart, by going within, by seeing him in every single human being that we encounter, by thinking, how can I be of service to this human being, and to also be of service to the animals, to the birds. Even to feed the birds is an act of compassion. This was told to me by Mrs. Godavari Pala, the late Mrs. Godavari Pala, and her husband, Ratanlal Pala, who was Swami's senior accountant for many years up in the admin building. That couple embodied to me the most perfect husband-wife relationship whenever they became ill, and they both became ill quite frequently. They would take Swami's vibhuti, they would pray to Swami and say Swami's name, and they would recover. This is our secret medicine. Swami has said vibhuti may or may not be used. If you have the grace of receiving his vibhuti, by all means, use that as medicine. Lingam water, Sai turmeric, which flows from his photographs. I have seen many prayer rooms where the vibhuti is coming, and the people who have it don't share it. I've seen it coming in centers, and they put ropes around it. Oh, no, we can't touch this vibhuti. No, Swami is not doing this for show. Swami never created vibhuti just for show. It is meant to go out to those who are unwell. He has said, if you are unwell, I will give my vibhuti and it will cure you. Here in New Zealand, we are fortunate to have quite a large supply of vibhuti that comes from Swami's photo, and also healing Sai turmeric, which is very good for cancer. I have enjoyed very much sharing some of these stories with you. I have many more, but please remember, the next time you are praying to Swami to make you well or to make a loved one well, pray to him to give them the strength to go through what they must. This is the most perfect prayer that you can pray. Don't pray for the outcome. Leave it to him. He knows what is best. He knows our entire time track. He knows all the lives we have lived before. He knows our karma. He knows everything. This is why I say surrender to him. Surrender to Swami. And however he heals us, it will be the kind of healing that is absolutely perfect for us. Om Sri Sai Ram.
Om Sai Ram.
Om